Alright, now I briefly want to talk about some keys to keep in mind when you're building muscle. Now my marker's running out of ink, RIP to this marker, it's the last time I will ever use it in a lecture or a video, so I'm going to use it to point and we'll send it out in style. So, some things to keep in mind when building muscle. Now, building muscle is a little bit different than losing fat, but it's the same overall nutrition principles. Believe it or not much changes when you're building muscle or you're losing fat. Whether you're in the gym, you should still be trying to hit all your lifts, you should still be trying to progress. Now, a lot of you will be maintaining your lifts when you're in the gym and you're building muscle, or when you're in the gym and you're trying to lose fat, but you should still be trying to progressively overload, even though, something we're going to talk about here in a second, even though you might not be able to. So, it's the same overall principle. That's a misconception a lot of times, is like when you're losing fat, you're just trying to maintain, and when you're building muscle, just drill my light, sorry. When you're building muscle, you're obviously, that's when you're trying to make gains and stuff like that. And your eating kind of changes. Same overall principles, in my opinion, not much changes except just your knowledge and the way that you implement it. So, macros are very, very important. They're also very, very important when you're losing fat, but they're also very, very important when you're building muscle. Now, people sometimes think building muscle, protein is the most important. And it's very important, trust me. The number one building block to muscle is protein and amino acids, obviously. So protein is very, very important, but not much changes. You should still be hitting your protein right around where your body weight is. It's pretty simple. You don't need to raise it to some ridiculous amount. You'll see bodybuilders say like, oh, they might be like 280 pounds, but they're eating like 500 grams of protein per day. They're bodybuilders. They're on steroids. You're not. At least I hope you're not. That's something beyond the scope of this video. But protein is very, very important. But the reason I want to talk about that is because carbs and fat are also very, very important. Especially, they're very important when you're losing muscle, when you're losing fat. Excuse me, when you're losing fat, but they're also very important when building muscle. The reason being is, like we talked about before when we were breaking down the actual nutrition plans, carbohydrates are your number one source of energy. Guess what? If you don't have energy, you're not going to be able to lift properly. You're not going to be able to apply progressive overload and getting better and progressively better in the gym with your lifts. That's something we're going to talk about here in a second. On top of that, fat is very, very important. Fat is very, very important because it regulates your hormones and your testosterone levels. And if you don't have any testosterone levels, I don't care what you're doing, you're not going to be progressively overloading because you're not going to have the drive to actually do it consistently. And on top of that, your body's not going to regulate a lot of your diet right. So you need to keep your fat in check, you need to keep your carbs in check. And yes, protein is very, very important on top of that, but they all are important. They all play a part. Another thing, water, same thing. Go back to water. You need to stay hydrated. Water is the delivery mechanism for a lot of the things that your body uses to take those things to the individual muscles, thus building your muscle. Drink water, stay hydrated, and on top of that, I did touch on this briefly in the last lecture, it's also going to increase your stamina, let you lift more in the gym, do a lot of different things. It's going to give you more energy. Water is always important. That never changes. Now, progressive overload, something that I want to talk about in droves here. This is crucial for building muscle. It's also important when you're losing fat. You still want to try to maintain progressive overload, despite what some people think, but it's very, very important when you're building muscle. Trust me when I tell you that, and I've done this from experience, I know full-heartedly that your nutrition can be 100% on point. You can have your macros down, you can be very hydrated. You can be, literally eating your macros to a T every single day for months. But if you're not in the gym, applying progressive overload with your workout plan, you are not going to build muscle. It's that simple. The way that your body builds muscle is it's an adaptation. Nothing happens without a reason that your body sees that it needs to do something. So, the way that you do that is with progressive overload and constantly applying progressive overload to your workout program and in the gym. So, if you, hypothetically, a good example would be of progressive overload, if you're doing 4 sets of 20, just randomly, well, guess what? 4 sets of 21 at the same weight would be progressive overload. It's applying the same thing. 4 sets of 20 at 180 pounds is what you usually do. Well, 4 sets of 20 at 181 pounds or 185 pounds is progressive overload. It's constantly getting better in some form or fashion. Not every single day, obviously, that's the goal, but you're not going to necessarily be able to obtain that every single day. But the key is with progressive overload, you need to be getting better, lifting more frequently, lifting more, variations, lifting more, with your, what's the other word that I'm looking for? I can't think of it right now, I'm drawing a blank. You need to be lifting more and applying progressive overload. That is something I talk about in droves in my workout program course. I can't tie it all into this course because this course is about the nutrition, But if you're interested in that, I recommend checking out my workout program course. It's very, very related to this, and it will talk about, actually applying these things in the gym so that you can tie that stuff into your nutrition plan and really not just get one or the other benefit, but really 10x your benefit with both of them. Finally, one thing that I wanted to end this with, because it's super important, guys, enjoy it. When you're building muscle, you have the ability to enjoy your foods more. You can eat, a little bit less. You can eat a little bit more relaxed. Enjoy some certain things that you normally wouldn't do when you're losing fat. The reason being, simply, you have more calories to play with. So enjoy it. It doesn't always have to be, this strenuous thing where you're counting your calories. Maintain, obviously, what you're supposed to be your target goal, but if you go over it, it's fine. If you eat a little bit more fat, it's fine. If you have a bad meal, it's fine. Just keep in mind, once you have these tools and this knowledge, when you build muscle and you get a little bit fluffy, I like to call it, you can always go back and lose fat because you have the tools, you have the knowledge, and you can implement it again. So make sure that you enjoy it. I genuinely love building muscle. Right now it's mid-September, so it's kind of the end of, I'm kind of starting to get back into a bulk, and I'm going to be building muscle myself. So I really, really, really look forward to enjoying some foods that I don't typically eat in the summer when I really, really want to stay lean. So that's some things to keep in mind when you're building muscle. Hope you guys liked it.